Later Centerville Historians organized in the year 2000. The purpose of the organization is to preserve the history of the Township of Centerville, Cleveland and surrounding area. Gerald O'Neill, Charlie Bauer, Richard Wigand, and myself, Kathleen Sixel, were the founding members. In 1831, the territory south of Green Bay was sold to the U.S. government by the Native Americans who had title to the land. The consideration was the promise of a reservation in another state. The Township of Centerville was established in 1850. The township had a village called Centerville. The reason for the hamlet's original name of Centerville was, in the days of the Indians, there was a trail along Lake Michigan between Manitowoc and Sheboygan. This heavenly spot was exactly at the halfway mark, so the early white man gave it the name Centerville. In 1849, the village of Centerville was surveyed and laid out in lots and blocks. The village of Centerville was renamed Hika when the Postmaster General informed the village leaders that another Centerville was located in the state. When it became time for Centerville to be renamed, a judge in Manitowoc by the name of Albert Schmidt would take kids hiking. The judge said, "You can't call a town hiking, so why not make it Hika?" Thus, the village of Centerville became Hika. In the early years, Centerville had the vision of becoming a lake port. To encourage ships to dock there, 2 piers were built into Lake Michigan. Many German immigrants arrived by schooners, and the village began to grow. The village had a brick factory, stores, schools, a Lutheran and a Catholic church, mills, saloons, blacksmith shop, and a fire department, and a brewery. When the brewery was built, the settlement began to flourish. But when fire destroyed the brewery, the largest industry, there was no longer a need for the harbor facilities. So ended this chapter of the development of Hika. 2 miles west of Hika, another settlement known as St. Wendel began to grow. It had a Catholic church, a general store with a connected dance hall, and a post office was also located in the complex, a funeral parlor, and at one time a motel. With the clearing of the forest, tilling of the land began. This prompted the exporting of lumber and grains. The farmers of Centerville looked forward to the building of a railway since they had a serious problem transporting their products. In 1873, the Milwaukee, Lakeshore, and Western Railroad was built between the settlements of Hika and St. Wendel and was named Centerville Station. In 1880, Centerville Station was renamed Cleveland after President Grover Cleveland. Cleveland, at that point in time, owes its growth to the fact that the Township of Centerville was a rich farming community, and farmers from miles around would bring products to be shipped by rail or ship. The village of Cleveland had several grocery stores, a furniture store, a funeral parlor, several saloons, Lutheran church, hardware stores, several gas stations, newspaper, photographer studio, several car dealerships, cheese factory, several feed mills, livestock yard, and lumber yards. The biggest business was the Cleveland Co-op, which offered many types of services. With the failing of grain crops, the farmers began dairy farming. With the abundance of milk, another industry began, cheese and butter making. Local cheese factories dotted the countryside. One-room schools were usually built near the cheese factories, so children would have a ride to school when farmers brought their milk. In 1958, Hika, St. Wendel, and Cleveland incorporated into the village of Cleveland. In 1968, the Cleveland Elementary School was built. The Township of Centerville has seen many farming changes, but dairy farming is still the primary vocation. Today, Cleveland is known as the seat of Lakeshore Technical College, which offers an educational alternative to 4-year colleges. An ancient proverb states, When an old person dies, a library burns to the ground. These words were the inspiration for organizing the Greater Centerville Historians. We hope to preserve as many memories as possible.
We're here at the VFW building here in Cleveland, and we're having our history meeting here this weekend, which is January 9th. And we have a lot of people here that can explain a lot of things in regard to what this building stands for and the membership involved. Located on Park Lane. There's baseball diamonds and other park facilities available. It's a Sunday afternoon, and again, like I said, we're doing a history arrangement here on this post, this VFW post, and the history behind it, how it got started here in Cleveland.
The whole group maybe with the flags. Does that make a difference?
We have a young lady and a young gentleman here who are beginning another year, or 2005, and we're continuing with our history events, and they'd like to introduce themselves and give us some regulations and rules. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Kathy Sixel. It's January 10th, 2005, and it's sort of a hazy day today. And I would like to welcome everybody that came, and particularly the new people. That's wonderful that you came. Richard?
Yeah, my name's Richard Wigand. It's actually January 9th.
Oh, 9. Okay.
Kathy, don't push it.
Yeah.
And we have a few ground rules. When you want to say something, please raise your hand and wait till Jerry comes. And you always give your name when you start saying something. And please be quiet when other people are speaking. There's a lot of echoes in this room. We would also like, when we're going around, for people to say if they're veterans, you know, of war or have served in the service.
Okay.
When we do our introductions.
Okay.
And what else was I supposed to say?
They should use full names, not nicknames.
Oh, okay. Use full names. So
Okay.
history knows who we were.
Yes. Well, we can certainly start with Kathy here. I'm already giving her name away, but she can identify herself, and I'll be continuing all the way around the table.
My name is Kathy Sixel. It's obvious I wasn't in the war, although my husband was.
Oh,
he
really?
fought during peacetime.
Okay.
And he was in the Far East, I think. I went around the Horn of South America,
All right.
and that was in the 50s. And he was stationed at San Diego, and that's why we lived at San Diego when we were first married.
Okay. Very good, Kathy. Thank you. And you, sir?
My name is Richard Wigand, and I was never in the military, but I spent 6 years in the Peace Corps, so I think I served my country with some honor also.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Richard. And you, sir?
My name is Gerald Leonard. Everybody knows me as Jerry. I was in the United States Marine Corps from 1952 to 1955. I served over in Korea, was the 1st Marine Infantry. And then the rest of my career I spent as a construction electrician, retiring at the age of 65.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Willard Matthias. I was landed at Okinawa,
Okay. And that was in what war was that again?
World War II.
World War II. And do you remember the years that you did that?
I was in service from 44 to 46.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Alice Matthias. No connection with the Army. except
Okay.
I'm
You're
to
married to the
Yeah,
gentleman here?
married.
All right. Very good. And you, ma'am?
I'm Irene Dine, and my husband was in the Merchant Marines.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Would like to say and identify himself, please?
I'm Walter Kress, and I was in World War II, stationed in Randall Field, Texas, at School of Aviation Medicine. I
Okay.
served from 42 to 45.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. And you, ma'am?
I'm Florence Chris, and we also have a grandson in Iraq right now.
Oh, really? Okay. Very good. And you're married to this gentleman here?
That's right.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Kathy Wagner, and I'm not a veteran in the military, but I'm kind of a veteran to this building. Because the village board met here for many years until
Okay.
they bought the village hall.
Oh.
They used to come here once a month, twice a month sometimes.
All right.
So this is like old home to me,
Okay. And the reason you came here for the meetings and so forth was what?
because I'm on the Centerville History Committee.
Oh, okay. Very good. Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
Edith Litzy, I moved to Cleveland 18 years ago, so I'm really not a veteran of anything.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Edith. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Fred Jacoby from Manitowoc, and I was in the Army from 54 to 56, and before that I protected our country, providing protection at Ninick Spar.
Providing protection at meetings.
For the first 3 years of Korean War, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. And who do you have here, please?
Charlie Bauer, in the Marines from 65 to 69, twice to Vietnam.
Okay.
As a combat engineer, working with mine removal and blowing things up, I guess.
Okay. Very good. And who do you have here, please?
Dorothy Anderson from Cleveland, and I wasn't in the service.
Okay. Did you have any relatives that did go into service?
Well, a nephew that was, Winifred's son, but I don't know too much about it.
Okay, very good. Thank you. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Marie Pippert, and in the Vietnam War, I had the oldest was in the Navy, the second one was in the Marines, and her husband was in the Army. So I had 3 of them at the same time.
Really?
Can't remember the years. Maybe you remember.
Okay.
You have a better memory than me.
And who do you have here, please?
I'm Gail Pfeiffer. I'm not a veteran, but I'm here today just to hear a little bit about the history of the VFW.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Welcome aboard. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Catherine Yaney. I'm married to Melvin.
Okay.
I have no other connection here either.
Okay, very good. And who do you have here, please?
Melvin Yaney, and I was in the service from 54 to 56 in the
Okay,
Army.
in the Army. And stationed where? Any particular area?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. Okay, well, thank you very much. And who do you have here, please?
I'm Belita Comer. My husband was the chief of police here for about 9 years. I had 4 brothers in service. 3 of them served World War II,
Okay.
all at the same time.
Okay,
And I just mostly come because I'm interested in history.
wonderful. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
And I'd also like to convey a welcome to Florence for coming back. So, O'Neill, and I did not serve in any services whatsoever. I was to a point of maybe 2 weeks from being drafted, and my employer said, would you be interested in a sort of a, can't even think of the name. But anyway, I did not go into the service. I became a tool and die maker, and that was vocation that was not needed for in the service. Okay, what did we start out with here, please?
Jerry, I'm Kathy Sixel, and I was going to say at the time that Don went into service in 1955, he was drafted, but they had an option of going into the Army or the Navy, and that's how come he happened to check Navy, and that's how he got into the Navy.
Okay,
Yeah,
wow, that's
there was just
never knew that.
a short period in there. I
Okay.
don't know, was it years or was it months? Does anybody know?
Couple of months, I guess.
Couple months?
He served in the aircraft.
Yeah, on an aircraft carrier.
Okay, okay. Go right ahead, please.
Richard Wigand, we didn't mention that this is the meeting of the Greater Centerville Historians.
That's right.
I believe. And we've now been active here. Is this the 5th year now?
No, if the 5th year will be in November.
Okay, so we know it's more than 4 years now. And the other thing I wanted to say is I did have some connection with the military because I was a student in Madison during the height of Vietnam, and I was going to be drafted as soon as I graduated, but at some point they decided to have a lottery for the draft, and my number came up number 63, so I would have been indeed drafted as soon as I graduated, and I went through the physical exam in Milwaukee and took these tests and things, and I did some ROTC preliminary in Madison, but I had also applied to the Peace Corps, and I was able to get a deferment before the end of the deferments to go to Kenya for 2 years. So I ended up in Kenya for 4 years, and the war was over by that time. And
Okay.
so I did Peace Corps again in Paraguay later on.
Okay.
So I was close to going, but didn't.
Okay, very good. And I think now would be appropriate time to go to these gentlemen because their facility is what we're using today for our history meeting. And anything that they would like to say at this time, go right ahead, please.
Should I start with the beginning of the post, or?
Yes, I would think maybe that'd be a good point.
Okay, I'm Willard Matthias, member of the Post. Cleveland VFW had its first meeting at the Cleveland Firehouse. There were 17 members that came for that first night. They had election of officers just till we get started, and Wallace Pippard was, Beanie Droll, I should say, was the first appointed chairman of the 17 members. And then later on, we had another meeting, and we had 3 more members join. And in all, right now, when we had our charter, we had 41 members that joined the VFW within a year's time before the charter was approved.
Okay.
And out of the 41 members, we have 9 left. The rest all have been deceased.
Okay.
So now we've got a post started, now we have to raise some money. So the first thing we did was had a dance at Gretz's, and we took in $350 in our first dance. So now we're in the mood of buying something already. So the first place we looked at was the Franzmeier building, the church. We offered Mr. Franzmeier $3,000 for the property. And, well, he thought it over, and then he thought there's going to be a lot of traffic and things, so he decided not to go along with that thing. So that was the end of that one. So then we decided to have some picnics so we could get some more money. So then we had a picnic up at Gretz's. The first year everything was going good. We had a nice crowd. We made a lot of money, but I never had it in here. What amount did you have, Jerry?
Well, one year they made,
Go right ahead, please.
Gerald Leonard, the one year my record showed they made about $1,300, but I don't know what year that was. But if I may add to it, they also in 1949 had a car raffle.
Right.
And with the 1950 Ford, when the Ford changed to
Yes.
a new style,
Sure.
that you're all aware of, it used to be that sleek long back.
That's
before-
right, yeah.
That was the pre-World War II really. And I don't know how successful that was, but I know the members. I was just a kid then. That was before my time in the VFW. But I know from being at the dairy, Willard would spend many a Sunday after he got done in the dairy running to picnics all over, not just the county, but northeast Wisconsin up to Green Bay, and who knows how far they went. So they worked hard to raise money for that too.
Okay.
Willard has some more to add.
At that time, when we bought this car, we bought it from Carl Amstead, he gave it to us as cheap as he could get it. And we sold the tickets for a new car for 50 cents a piece. And I would say we made money because like we'd be, every Saturday night we'd have it parked up at Gretz's where there was a dance, people coming in, we'd be pounding everybody, and like you said, we'd go to picnics all over. And, Robert Herman had a flatbed trailer on back of his record there, and we'd haul that thing around all over just to sell tickets. But I know we made money, but as much as I know, I don't know how much.
Okay.
And but whatever we always took in, you know, we'd always thinking of buying something so we could get our own place.
Okay.
Because it was getting harder and harder to find places. So we, in time when the park started up here, the flagpole and the memorial stone that's over there was donated by the VFW.
Okay.
And this flagpole down here was that's after we got, well, I'm ahead of myself. Anyway, now in 59, let's see, okay, here's a good one. In 1949, that's before I was married, we run it, what they call the Manitowoc County Veterans Talent Show over WOMT. And all the posts that wanted to have are involved in on that. And I think we run it for 3 months, maybe at the most. Not even, I don't think it was that long. But anyway, all of a sudden the other posts got mad because we were winning, Cleveland was winning all the talent. But then I was in charge of this, and so then I said, like Charlie Wimler, he tap danced. Now how can you win a contest and nobody's going to see you? All you could hear was the tapping on the floor, right? But he wins. But before that, I'd say to Harold, and you get some postcards, and people signed their name on the bottom that they approved. They wanted him to win, and that's how Charlie won. So then the next character I had was Bondi from 42 up there.
Yeah, Alan Bondi.
Alan Bondi.
Okay.
Piano player.
Yes.
And he pounded a piano. And I said to him too, I said to his folks, if you guys want to win, you got to send the cards in. And I don't remember, Irene, were you on there too?
Yes, I was.
You played the accordion.
Yeah, and I won too.
And you won too?
You won. Very good, Irene.
and then I had the Gordiga twins on.
Yes, yes,
Okay?
yep.
Sang. Like I said, they won too. I forget who else I had on, but we were just about winning every weekend up there. So then I think it lasted maybe 2 months, and then they dropped it.
Okay.
Cleveland did the winning.
Did the winning. They cleaned them out.
But all it is a little promotion.
Okay.
And then in 49, all our Gold Star mothers that we had in the community, at our Christmas party, we gave them their Gold Star mother pin.
Okay.
And they were Alma Kane,
Okay.
Mary Klein, Barbara Hansen, Lena Schill, what's that? Emily Mahusky, and Albert Stuckman, Stuckman, what's her name? I don't know. Her first name that we just couldn't get. Anyway, and the last one, it was Arlene Gahagan. It was our last Gold Star mother.
Okay. Okay.
So,
very good.
and then now in 1950, we had a surprise. We had all the World War I veterans join our organization.
Oh.
And they were Gus Newman, Bill Bushman, Herman Lutzy, Bogo Vendusky, and let's see, there could have been some, that must have been it. Those are World War I veterans that joined our post.
Okay.
Okay, then in 1949, the town of Centerville decided, we went through this once before when they bought this park. they bought the park here in 1949, according to our estimate. And then, like they said, they needed a road to come from here to there to get to the park. So then Mrs. Elmer Yost sold that property to the park, or the driveway part. Arvin Newman sold the park, and the driveway part was bought from Mrs. Newman and Mrs. Elmer Yost for the price of $300.
Okay.
So Mrs. Yost is sitting there with this corner here,
Okay.
and the veterans are looking for a place to build. So she donates this parcel of land, and the town of Centerville said if she donated it to us, this is how I've got it now. They would give us a lease that we don't pay no taxes on it for 99 years.
Oh,
This is what went on. So now we sit here with this property and then, well, what are we gonna do with it? No money? So then, they made a motion once, we were running all these things, to run a card party, not a card party, a poultry party. And that first one was held up at Tourist Inn. And it's been 54 years that we've been holding poultry parties here.
really? Now, a poultry party, you gotta explain that a little bit.
Well, you buy well, I'll let Jerry explain that. He's
Okay.
been in charge of it for years.
Okay.
I'm Gerald Leonard. He said I've been in charge. I went through the records. In 1955, I joined the Post, and I found out in the record that I've been on the poultry party, either part of it or the committee chairman of it since 1955. Well, the poultry party is, you get poultry, and you sell tickets, and you raffle them off, you run a wheel, and,
Okay.
but it's not as harsh as it sounds. There's always the same amount of tickets sold. You don't sell tickets until they don't sell anymore.
Okay.
We have 120 tickets, and you sell them in a block of 3, so there are 40 sales. So every time you buy a ticket, your chance is the same. It
Okay.
isn't like, well, boy, I might not like the lottery, I have a chance 1 in a million or 1 in 15 million.
Okay, all right.
It's not a great big fundraiser, but it's become an annual event, and surprisingly, we have, I would say 80% of the people are repeat people. They just come and we have a good time. We don't overcharge, they don't overpay for their ticket, and we have a good time, and we
And
make
that-
a few $100s on
Is that held here someplace?
Yeah,
Okay,
always right before deer hunting season,
okay.
every Sunday.
So in fact, there really is no poultry?
No, but it's frozen. It's
Oh,
frozen.
it is? Okay.
Turkeys.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch all
roasting
that.
chickens.
Oh,
Hams.
Okay.
Home cured smoked hams, not the stuff that you pick up out of the
Yes,
counter in the
yes.
grocery store. And
okay.
we raffle off about 75 pieces, including, and we have one special raffle for one large turkey, a 24-pound one, which you buy a separate ticket for.
Okay. Very good.
And we, like I say, we have the same people coming year after year. They look forward to it
Okay,
because it's a good fundraiser, and
Yeah.
the money does get used for the community now. Earlier, well, of course, it was needed for the building.
okay. Now, this building, we've got the property and we got the taxes relinquished. Does the building get built pretty soon?
I'll get there.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. In 1950, the veterans decided that we needed an auxiliary because we can't have our wives do the work with, and then they rebelled on us, and all of a sudden, if they have their own thing like auxiliary, they help a little more.
They'll stick together a little bit, yeah.
So in 1950, the ladies started their auxiliary.
Okay.
And it cost them $25 for the charter, and the veterans paid for the charter.
Okay,
So, I mean, it was a good thing for our veterans organization to have this auxiliary because they do a lot of our work and help us with, at one time we were so broke, we needed a new roof, and the women had money and the men didn't. So they donated some money towards us for a new roof.
wow.
Yeah.
They really take care of you guys.
Yeah, yeah. And they take care of all the buying of stuff in the kitchen and the
Okay.
drapery and things for the inside of the clubhouse.
Great.
So they have their own fundraisers, and so that it all helps. And let's see, I got in 52, let's see. Okay, in 1952, Harold Kopp was elected commander of the post.
Okay.
And this is the first one that I know of through the whole county and around the whole area where a man and his wife were both elected to an office. She was the auxiliary president and he was our post commander.
Okay, her name was what?
Adeline Kopp.
Adeline Kopp, okay, thank you.
So then they had it for 1 year. The next year, I was the commander.
Okay.
And I dragged my wife along as another couple to be the president of the auxiliary.
Okay, I'm just panning around here. Went the wrong way, but we're coming with everybody. Very good.
And let's see. Oh, and then when the women started, and right away, you know, they get different ideas. So they had held Christmas parties for the children. There's some pictures around someplace where, in these books, where they'd have 60 kids just for a Christmas party, and then they had, what other party? Halloween parties they had, and for the kids in the community.
Egg hunt too? Okay, great.
And then now we'll get down to the 1953. We accidentally had $3,000 in our bank already. And so then I was the commander at that time, and then I just pushed for the building. We had the land, and previous to this, we had already looked at Groat's Tavern to buy that and make that into our clubhouse. And they looked into Prawl's Barber Shop to make that into our. So that all backed down. So then we went and decided I had to appoint a committee of people to be on the building committee. And they were Henry Schwinn, Alvin Casper, Art Shurey, Harold Kopp, Kenny Schnell, and Roger Yost were on the building committee.
Okay.
So I'll send this picture around. This is our blueprint of what we were going to build at that time. What year?
49?
1946 we had the first meeting.
I'm Dorothy Anderson, and I wanted to know what year it was when you got together very first time at the firehouse and started the idea.
Okay, very good.
And then when was the actual building built? I guess we can get to that.
You want to know that?
Well, I have something to add. Jerry was telling, I'm Fred Jacoby. Jerry Leonard was telling about the car that they gave away. It was a 49 Ford, and Leroy Wigand won it. Now, I don't know if that was in 49 or 48 of that, which picked it, because that car was in production for a year and a half. So it could have been 48 because the car would have been available, but I remember Leroy won it.
Okay, very good.
Green, medium green kind of.
Good. Thank you.
Our first meeting was in November 22nd, 1946.
Okay. And when did this, I guess the other question was pertaining to the building itself? When it got built?
Oh, that was, we started that in, what was it? 54, yeah. March 29th, 1954.
Okay. And pertaining to the building of this building, was there contractors that helped out with this thing and so forth?
Yes, there was.
People that that belong to the group here?
The contractors we had were the members.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay.
Those were our contractors. That's why that's a building committee that was there.
Ah.
They would come on Saturdays and Sundays, evenings, and all through the whole summer to build this clubhouse.
Wow.
The basement was done by Bender's brothers. They put up the basement.
Okay.
As far as the rest of the building was done by the members themselves.
Wonderful. Really wonderful.
We have fellows like Ray Miller, Jerome Fox, Eugene Deasing, Alvin, and some more. that didn't have work in the winter months, that were on construction during the summer. This isn't the original floor, but the original floor they put in all the side, inside, they put the ceiling in, this is the original ceiling.
Wow.
And they did this all during the winter months while they were unemployed.
Isn't that wonderful?
That saved us a lot of money. And I'll turn it over to Jerry on this. We needed financing.
Okay.
Okay,
Now we're talking money.
we're talking money.
Now we're talking money in 1955. Gerald Leonard. Just up to date, I was not really in on the actual building program, but I got out of the Marine Corps in March of 1955, and April 1955 I was a member of the Post already.
Okay.
And, so one of my first appointments was to try to see if they can get the money for a mortgage. And so I don't know why I was picked for that committee. But anyhow, Ed Schurer used to be the Hudson dealership and John Deere dealership in Cleveland.
Okay.
He had a brother Arthur who was a member, but he was never a member. He loaned us the money, $3,000 we needed to complete the project because of all the donations and the free work.
Sure.
I know he loaned us the money at 3% interest on a handshake. I remember that so clearly. He put out his hand and he said, this is on a handshake, the interest is 3%, I want it twice a year, and if you can't pay anything on the principal, I want my interest, and just make a note in the books if anything would happen to me that the estate gets settled, that the payment gets made.
Okay.
And that was,
Wow.
and then here in 1962,
Good.
then we had the mortgage burning, and I again had the honors to be involved in that. I was post commander at that time, and that's me with that fancy bow tie, and Ed Schurer, who's deceased, and Edmund Schmidt, as everyone knows him in the community, he was the quartermaster, and to the far left is Howard Vogel.
Okay.
He was a past department commander of the VFW and very active in our post.
Okay.
And so those are, this was taken December 1962.
Wonderful.
The whole post, there's listed here somewhere, it says one of the papers that's around $11,800 actual money they spent on this
Wow.
post.
Wow.
And then if I want to jump ahead a little, in 1972, we built on what you see as the kitchen there.
Okay. All
And
right.
then again, we went to Mr. Schurer for a few dollars.
Okay.
And again, he put his hand out and
Really?
the same terms as last time, okay?
Same percentage and everything.
And that took that long to do the transaction.
Isn't that wonderful? You have people like
We were
that?
able to repay in about 3 years, thank goodness. But
Great, great.
so the people as a community have always been very supportive of VFW
Okay.
and what we have tried to do for the community.
Now, again, the ladies auxiliary, they share this building with you folks? Okay.
Yes, the ladies auxiliary are the ones that share the building with us.
Okay.
And then also we have our fundraiser, our ham dinner. And when we used to have our ham dinner, that money we made would be enough to pay our insurance on the building.
Okay.
But it don't cover it no more.
Yep. Yep.
And then like a duck raffle, that used to be our heating bill, that would take care of that. It
Okay.
doesn't cover that no more. So we rent the building out to anybody that wants to rent it.
Okay.
And it costs, right now, the price is $45
Okay.
when you want to rent it. And that's with heat and light, and air conditioning, and all.
And you can use the kitchen and the basement area?
Basement, the whole place, you know, just
Okay.
clean it up when you're done with it. But that's one of our big things, but we really don't make that kind of money on it, because of the fact it costs a lot now to operate a post, but we're tax-free.
As far as the baseball diamond that I know is nearby, as far as providing any kind of food and things like that during those games, you don't do that at all?
No.
Okay.
But years back, we used to do a lot more community service than we're doing now, but you can, if you look around, our average membership is way over 70 years old.
Ah.
So this last year, we've lost five members again.
Okay.
So then every year we are dwindling away. We used to be able to keep up until, well, I think last year yet we had 100% membership.
Okay.
But I know we won't get no 100% this coming year because of the 5 people that have passed away.
Okay. Your present occupation with the organization here?
What I do?
Yes.
Well,
is there enough time on the tape for all that?
I maintain the building now.
Okay.
I had I went up the ladder from whatever there was already.
Scrubbing lady.
And it was like a commander, and then, so I've been taking care of the building, and I'm usually the man that takes care of raising money for the organization.
Okay.
The time, like I said, when we were so broke, then we had to have something coming up, so then I got together with a few of the members, and we had a Las Vegas night. Gail Pfeiffer remembers those nights. Anyway,
okay.
The first night we had this Las Vegas night, it was up at Steggy's, and we made $3,900 that night.
Oh, great.
So now we got money again. So the first thing we did with that money was put the siding on the clubhouse.
Uh-huh.
And guess what contractor we had for that one? The members.
Members
put it on
again.
themselves. We hired one man, right? And he knew what he was doing, and he had men hanging all over the clubhouse. I think within a weekend, the thing was put on.
Wow, great.
Outside. But, and then we needed some more money. Then we had this Farm Progress Day come up.
Okay.
And there we worked for 3 days up there. And
all right.
we made $5,000 on that.
Wow.
So as of now, we do have a little money in the checking account.
Well,
So I don't intend to raise any more funds no more because I'm getting too old for that.
And you, sir?
Jerry Leonard, I would just like to add, Willard is being way too modest, and that is one of our things of the VFW here. We don't shout too loudly when we do anything, but of that Farm Progress money that was raised, a major portion of it was divided between among the Cleveland first responders and fire department, etc.
Okay.
And the Newton Fire Department and the St. Asians Fire Department.
Oh, really?
So we really didn't keep a large portion of that money.
Wow, wow.
But I say Willard does not like to toot his own horn very loudly, but I want to have that on the record.
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. Yes, sir.
Richard Wigand, I have a question. Which Farm Progress was this? Seamers. Okay, so that would have been in 1997, if I remember right.
Okay, very good. Okay. Lady, you'd like to ask a question? Go right ahead, please.
I'm Kathy Wagner, and I was wondering if you still rent out wheelchairs for community use.
Who has a question put to him?
Jerry Leonard, as far as the wheelchairs, yes, we have wheelchairs, hospital beds, and so forth, but we do not rent them out. They are available, but we accept donations to maintain them and upkeep and to buy additionally if something isn't available.
Okay.
But yes, we just had one returned, a hospital bed that, I don't know just how long the party had it, but I think it was between 5 and 7 years they
Really?
had it. So
Wow.
we do not set a time limit because
So the list would be hospital beds, wheelchairs, walkers,
walkers, commodes, crutches, anything that's related to
Really?
rehab, you might say. Or-
to anybody. They don't need to be a veteran.
No, you come and ask if we have it, it's available, and if we don't have it available, we pretty well know where to steer someone that
Okay.
they don't have to pay an arm and a leg for the usage of it.
Do you deliver it and pick it up also?
Well, if we have to, we will. We
Okay.
just picked up that hospital bed the other day.
Okay.
But
One-
generally, the people come and get it.
Sure,
and,
sure. Very
But
good.
as a rule, that we will do that if someone does need that service.
Thank you. On the floor, go right ahead, please.
Richard Wigand, the comment I wanted to make was we were talking before the beginning of the meeting that we should maybe all stand over here by the flags or something at the end of the meeting and get a group picture.
Okay, great.
We're always looking for pictures for Centerville Settlement, and since this is a kind of a branch of Centerville Settlement, Centerville Settlement does a calendar every year. And we try to capture, you know, some events.
Okay.
So if we could do that and get a group picture, then we kind of got
Yeah.
who we are.
Very good.
The second thing is the VFW, has it accumulated a list of names of all of the veterans from this area who have served in the past, or are we just looking at since the time that this organization was formed? Because I know there's Civil War and you know, maybe, I don't know, Spanish-American War, but there's some other veterans out there that are buried on cemeteries, and sometimes it's hard to get information on them.
Okay, just one moment. Thank you. Smiling gentleman here who has some
Gerald
information.
Leonard, in answer to your wanting a record of all the names, the Manitowoc County Veteran Service Officer has that all on record.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, a few years ago, the Manitowoc Herald, the Chronicle, the Lakeshore Chronicle paper listed
Okay.
every member of Manitowoc County and at what cemetery they're buried at. But that record is available, but we do not have that.
Okay. Very good.
And there are a surprisingly large number of Civil War veterans. And I found out with doing a little legwork myself that at, I forget the name of the gentleman, but at the Saxon Cemetery on Union Road right off of X, there's a Spanish-American War veteran buried there.
Okay.
They are kind of a rarity, if that's the right word to use. But
Be here who would like to say a few words. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Alice Matthias. I was just going to comment a little bit on the parties that we used to have for the kids.
Okay.
Years back, like when we first started, our organization was, or the auxiliary was organized in 1950. And at that time, we were all pretty young, you know, and there were a lot of young kids around the neighborhood and around the village. We would always have a Christmas meet Santa Claus type thing. I know for a couple years, we have an old wicker rocker, and I'd bring that and Santa Claus would sit underneath. We had a tree that came down, but it was a Christmas tree and they had lights on.
Yeah.
And Santa Claus would sit there and the kids would come and get a visit with Santa.
Oh.
And then they'd come in here and they'd get a treat of some sort.
Okay.
And I think after we had it like 2 years, the lights were stolen off of the tree. That was the end. Then from then on, we had it inside. But
Okay.
it was so nice outside. I know
Yeah.
one year it was snowing so nice and it was really nice.
Yeah.
The Halloween parties we used to have, we'd probably get, like 60, 70 kids. And we'd have them where they'd have the spookiness, you know, we'd be downstairs. And they'd have to feel all this stuff, grapes for eyes and noodles for their intestines, all this weird stuff that I wouldn't touch now. But those were all really nice parties. We got good turnouts for those. And the egg hunts we always had were outside egg hunt where
Okay.
we used to always have to buy our eggs, but we'd get them from Wunsch. And we'd dye, I don't know how many dozens and dozens. And lots of years, the Girl Scouts did help dye. And they'd help.
Never got done because there were so many eggs.
Yeah, I know. They
When you
were,
die at home, you're finished before you get started.
Right. And they would help distribute them outside too. If it was nice weather, they'd always have them outside. It would be in groups, the little ones first and then the older ones, however it worked.
Okay.
And-
Down on us, and Alice will finish out what she was indicating here.
Okay, I'm Alice Matthias, and I believe I was at the part where we'd have the egg hunts outside, and kids would come, and then some of the eggs were marked, and if they had a marked egg, these are all hard-boiled eggs, and if they had a marked egg, they'd get an extra, whatever, Easter bunny or whatever would be some type of thing, and then we'd make all these baskets. They'd each end up with a nice basket to them.
Okay.
And then those are the three things we had. And then on the end, we'd hardly get any kids. It wasn't worthwhile
Really?
to have the party. So that's why we disconnected them, or
Now,
discontinued them.
when did that start to wane as far as kids showing up for all your activities?
I would say like 10 years ago, right?
Okay.
It's been quite a long time, but
Really?
we had them for, lots of
Yeah,
years, and they
yeah.
were very nice parties. But one time, I noticed when Willie was looking up this stuff, they had the Post decided to spend 30 cents. They'd give the auxiliary 30 cents to buy candy per bag. But that sounded like, but in those days, they probably got
Yeah,
30 pieces
that's
for 30
right.
cents, who knows?
Yes.
But when they first started having the Christmas parties, the men forgot to mention it. They'd have like about, 4 or 5 Santa Clauses, and they'd go along with the driver.
Okay.
And they'd go to this would be just the Post's members'
Ah,
families,
okay.
where they had kids, and then they'd
Sure.
go to the kids and make the visit at their houses.
Super.
And sad to say, some of those Santa Clauses didn't fare too well. Enough of that.
Enough about
right?
that one.
So that's
There's something to say. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Fred Jacoby. In regard to the lists of the veterans of the various wars, you didn't mention the memorial at the Historical Society thing in Manitowoc, did you, Jerry?
No.
Did you?
No.
Oh, you went to the Veterans Office, you said. But they've got these tablets and display there, and they're all listed there and categorized. People that gave their lives in the various... Not the live ones?
No, just the dead ones.
Yeah, I say the ones that gave their lives.
Or if you paid $100 or something, you could have your name put on the back.
That was Sheboygan. I don't think you had to pay to get your name on Manitowoc.
On the backside.
Oh, really?
That's the sponsor.
That was at that time, what, 30 years ago when it first started.
Okay, but they just redid that here about less than 10 years ago.
Oh, no, that's older than. Is that First Memorial?
Well, the one that faces North 18th Street, you know, you can't park there. You gotta, you drive by.
Old Teachers College.
And Push with a lot of questions, and he's got some answers, perhaps.
Gerald Leonard again. I forget just what the times were, but in the Veterans Memorial Park, as we know it today, was started at least 20 years old, because the reason I'm trying to put some of this together.
Is that, sir, right where the county normal used to be?
Right.
Is that correct, in Manitowoc?
18th Street.
On 18th Street, there's a flame there also?
Right.
Okay.
And there was a big controversy. The city wanted to put that back in the cemetery somewhere. And that was one of the things that made Manitowoc County form a Manitowoc County United Veterans Council,
Okay.
which consists of all veterans organizations of the county, which I think at that time there were 27. And because, well, we didn't want to be stuck in the back somewhere. They had this area here, and well, we got that. And the reason I got trying to think how far along ago that is, but I remember Monsignor Schneider, anybody that knows Monsignor Schneider, he was also a Department of Wisconsin VFW state chaplain and a national chaplain, and he was chaplain in that era. And the year that monument was dedicated was on Veterans Day in November 10th, and it was so cold that our hour-and-a-half program was about 15 minutes long. But I can't remember just when that was. I'd have to go through all my minute books, and I'm sure I'd find it, because I've been adjutant here forever, and I'll find it in there.
Now,
But as far as the names, at that time, if you wanted your name on it as a living member, you could get it on the back side. But the front are only the deceased.
I see. Okay.
And there's no charge for that.
Oh, okay.
But that money is really, that memorial is really self-sustaining. There's really no county money in there. We have thousands of dollars in there, which is another political story, which I won't get into at this time. But
Now, I just got a question ahead of Richard here. There's a stone for every war, is that correct, or am I wrong there?
yeah, sort of. Every war is depicted separately.
Okay.
Starting with the Civil War, Spanish, and I don't know how far they've gone now, if they have. Okay, this gentleman, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Bauer has something to say, and identify himself, please.
Charlie Bauer, and we were talking about the different monuments that list the dead veterans' names on the stones up there, and the picture here shows the latest stone, and they actually, to balance the monument, they put two stones, one on each side for the global war of terrorism. And I was there for the dedication that day, and it was a cold day too. I don't know why they always pick such a cold day, but I believe the father-in-law is a member of the Cleveland VFW Post here.
Grandfather.
Is the grandfather? And
she's a member too, his wife.
I'm gonna have to let somebody else take that story, because
Sure.
I don't know much about that part of it.
And what date was this again, please?
November 11th,
Of what year?
2004.
2000.
On Veterans Day, yes.
Okay, thank you. Who'd like to say a few words and identify himself? Go right ahead, please.
Melvin Yanish, and this veteran that died in the war on June 24th, His wife is a veteran here, and her grandfather is also a veteran here.
Okay.
Who is it?
Debbie Kaiser.
Who?
Kaiser.
Oh,
And Myron Bosman is a grandfather.
Who's the grandfather one more time?
Myron Bosman.
Okay, thank
And
you.
he was also a Purple Heart veteran from Italy,
Okay,
World War II.
all right. Okay, very good. Thank you, Melvin. Question, go right ahead, please.
Richard Wigand, when the county was putting this county committee together and getting all the names of the veterans in the county, I'm not sure when that was happening, but I remember it was 10 years ago or 15 years ago that Professor Kerry Trask from the University Extension, he's a historian, and he was involved in getting some of these names, and they had some kind of a presentation or something like that, and he stated that the oldest surviving Civil War veteran died in 1932. And we know better than that at Saxon Cemetery. So my brother John called up somebody or sent a letter or something like that and stated that Carl Rick was a veteran of the Civil War, and he died in 35 or 36, and he's buried on the Saxon Cemetery. So not all of these guys get their numbers right, or maybe they don't even always know, who were the veterans, from way back.
Okay, very good, thank you. Here, who has some information, go right ahead, please.
Melvin Yenihan, this Carl Rick was a 14-year-old when he entered.
Oh my gosh.
He walked, they had organized a troop in Manitowoc, and they were walking to Milwaukee, and he followed them. And every night he came into camp, and they couldn't chase him back at night, and the next morning he would follow up again. And finally they gave a team of horses to drive, and when he was 16 he was sworn in.
No kidding. So he started from Manitowoc, and they had to walk to where again?
Milwaukee to the train.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thank you very much. That's interesting, sir. Drew has a question or two. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Kathy Sixel, and this is for Jerry and Willard. What is the radius that your members come from, and how do they become a member? And the same as the auxiliary, how do they become a member, and what are some of the things that you do, like in the community, like the mailbox for the old flag, and how do you notify people of your functions, the general public?
Who says he can take it on. Go right ahead, please.
I'm Gerald Leonard. As far as the radius of our membership, Willard will have to help me. Where is Charlie Wimler at? North Carolina?
North Carolina.
That's the furthest member. Charlie Wimler is a member of North Carolina.
And we got one in California.
One in California.
Okay.
And so that's
Could you name that person too, please?
In California? Yeah. Eddie Yaney.
Eddie Yaney.
And Sylvester. Well, Sylvester, I think he's home now again. Sylvester's not. Kenny used to be out east someplace, New Jersey.
Okay.
But at one time when we first started this organization, we had members, they did live around here, or their wife used to live here, and they were friends. Like we had a lot of guys that used to come from Sheboygan that came to our meetings and were lifetime members that worked our post. Were from Sheboygan and Manitowoc. We had our membership is, to this day, it is from all around. I don't know if we had any left in Manitowoc, but then from Sheboygan and Kiel. It's surrounding area where, for the village itself now, since we've been losing so many members, we really don't have many members in the village here anymore.
Okay.
Most of them come from out of town.
All right.
That's why it's hard to do community service for the village if you've got people from out of town.
That's right.
They don't mind helping, but they don't mind why help. Then we have to, when it comes to, like when we give flags out to schools, we go through the Hall area because our membership is from the Hall area.
Okay.
So anybody that needs a flag, we will donate it, or the auxiliary will donate it to that school.
Okay.
Or to the church, whoever needs a flag that's going to fly one. It's an organization we will donate flags like to the fire department. They get theirs every 1 or 2 year they get from us. Because, and at one time, when they first started flying the flags in the village, then the VFW bought all those flags that are hanging there. But it got too costly, we couldn't afford it, so then the village took it over on their own to fly these flags, or pay for the flags.
Okay, I got one more question pertaining to flags. I know I've seen downstairs when you showed me a few things that these flags are for the cemeteries. How far and wide do you go for that?
Jerry, you know, that's his department.
Okay, another one. Go right ahead, sir.
Gerald Leonard, as far as the flag placement, that is done through the County Veteran Service Officer, but our cemeteries include, I'll just try to get most of them.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Too many. St. Wendel,
Yes, sir.
Saxon, what I refer to as the Hika Cemetery, St. Johannes, and St. George.
Okay.
And what is your cemetery?
Casa?
Casa. We go to the Casa Cemetery, and I guess there's one other.
St. Cashmer's, right?
Huh?
St. Cashmer's?
And St. Cashmer's at Northheim.
Northheim, okay.
St. John's.
Oh, yeah, and St. John's at, on Highway F at,
County line.
Oh,
Rooster Church.
okay, yes.
Where Rooster Church used to be.
Yes, okay.
Not the Salem, the
No,
other.
the other one, yes.
Your Packer Inn.
by
There we
Packer
go.
Inn.
Okay,
And every year we get a listing from the County Veteran Service Officer of all the names and any added names.
all right.
And then he always, and the county supplies us with, we pick that up. We have to get that at the county furnishes the flags and they furnish the grave markers.
Okay,
And then we pick up what we need and we put them out the night before or the day before.
okay,
And if, they should be picked up the next day, but we generally leave them out. If it's right near the weekend, we'll get them out before the Sunday and to pick them
Sure.
up right after the Sunday. And then we replace what needs replacing, and
All right.
usually we have to get 20 or 30 new ones every year because some do disappear in that 3-4 days that they're out. And that's one reason why flags do not fly year-round on the cemetery grave, on the veteran's grave, because they disappear.
Sure.
You would be surprised how many of the grave markers disappear. What someone wants with one,
I
I don't
know.
know what it says,
yeah,
veteran on it, and as a place to hold a flag, but
Right.
they disappear. And that's why they don't stay out. People wonder sometimes, why are they only out 4 days? Why
Yeah.
aren't they honored all year long? But you may.
as far as that Memorial Day is when you honor the veterans that are deceased, do you go any particular cemeteries to do that as a group? He takes care of that too?
It's his job.
Okay,
Gerald Leonard again. Well, I'm happy to say, I'm kind of proud too that at this year's annual party of the membership, I received a plaque for 50 years as a member of the firing squad, and of those 50 years, 37 years has been as the commander of the squad.
Wow.
And I have not missed one Memorial Day in all those years.
wonderful. Thank you.
We start out at St. John's Reformed Church Cemetery, then we go to St. Cashmer's.
Okay,
It starts at 8 in the morning, 8 o'clock is the first one. And at 8:30 at St. Cashmer's, and at 9 o'clock at the Hika Cemetery, St. Johannes and St. George.
okay,
And then about 9:30 at St. Wendel, and then at 10:30 or 11, depending upon our guest speaker, we have our program right here at our monument. That's our
Okay.
Memorial Day program.
Now,
And we have a regular VFW ritual that we go through,
Sure.
and a prayer, and we always have a duet for singing, and it's very well done.
very good, very good. Now, you say there's a memorial here, is that by the flag
That's
perhaps?
like the flagpole.
Oh, okay, I'll have to take a video of that too.
There's a small stone monument there with
Okay,
a small bronze plaque that says dedicated to all those who have served.
okay,
So,
very good, thank you.
Richard Wigand, a couple of questions about the ceremony. You have a bugle, you play taps, and who does that? And you said firing squad, does that mean you're one of the, the salute? Okay,
Okay,
all right.
all right.
Yes, we have that. No, take care of it. Okay. You're the one that does it.
Jerry mentioned about Boy Scouts. Usually that's
Yes,
A little bit more to indicate here. Right ahead.
Jerry Leonard, I would like to add for a Memorial Day program at our Veterans Monument at the grounds here. We also have the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts participate, and the Cub Scouts.
Wow.
They're invited and they march in with us and they have their flags, and they always join us in singing one or two patriotic songs, and they have done this for, I think, as long as there's been a scouting group in the village of Cleveland, and we're very appreciative of that too. Sometimes the crowd is a little bigger than other years because people do go away that weekend. But
Sure.
they always show up.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
They ask about the auxiliary.
Yes.
You know what, anybody can join who had a brother or a sister or a parent or a husband or whatever.
Yes.
That was, overseas,
Okay.
at the time of war, right? Now, Iraq people are included, Vietnam. And so anyhow, we're always open too. We were losing members right along too. We had, I don't just know how many, I think we got like 38 now or something like that, but we're all up there too. We got, right, a couple years ago, they started giving free dues for anybody over 85.
Okay.
And we got almost a handful of those. Wow. We're all getting closer.
Yes.
And the dues have been $10 for years and years and years.
Okay.
And of that $10, $3 goes toward a cancer insurance.
Okay.
So if anybody ever gets cancer, if they're auxiliary, they have to send in a form, and they do get sort of a nice lump of money from it.
Sure.
And we also, when I was mentioning about the kids programs, which we don't have anymore, we do have, at Christmas time, we always make up baskets for the people that are elderly. Anybody over 90 would get one. And also anybody in nursing homes from our area. And usually we end up, this last year, I think we made up like 25 of them. But a lot of times it's over that. Years back it was like 40 of them or whatever.
Oh.
But we're getting to be a little healthier community too. And we also send boxes to the boys overseas. The last couple of years, with the cost of postage and stuff, by the time you get the little box together, it costs more to send it out. They've been sending out the phone call cards, which they appreciate. And we send cards to the boys that are in service, boys or girls. And they also send out cards, usually this one gal takes care of it if she hears of it, somebody who lost a family member or something, or for the sick. So that's about what we do, and we are open for new ladies all the time.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that answer.
Okay.
Good job.
Richard Wigand, I believe that when I was in the Peace Corps, I did receive some care packages, and I think they came from VFW. Would you have done that? I don't remember, but
I would possibly say so.
you know, when in the 70s, I got. It took a while to get there, but I did get something in the mail.
Okay.
2 or 3 years, I believe. I think it came from this organization.
Good. Thank you. There's a question. Go right
Charlie
ahead, please.
Bauer, I don't know if did we go through the slate of officers for the VFW membership, the commander and the junior commander or whatever? I would like to know who's the slate of officers for the VFW and for the ladies auxiliary, from the commander on, the present day.
In other words, the sequence of command?
Right, and
Who they are, huh?
who they are.
Okay, good. Thank you. Question on the floor, and this gentleman has volunteered to take care of it.
Our present commander now is Adrian Wagner, and he's had that job, I would say, once before for about 2 years or two that he was commander then, and so he is the commander now, and Wayne Schutte is senior vice commander, and Melvin Yannick is the junior vice commander.
Okay.
And Alvin Croft is the quartermaster, and Jerry Leonard is the adjutant.
Okay.
So, and most of those positions, they fight for them because they're such good paying jobs. And So the slate is officers usually, like if you get commander now, because it's so hard to get people to do it, is the guy that puts his hand up, he'll get it. There is no buddy running against them, so it's kind of easy now to get to be the commander.
Okay.
And as far as the auxiliary is, that they have Audrey Erdl as their president, and who's the...
Okay, would you be able to handle all those?
I think so. I'm Alice Matthias.
Yes.
Our president right now is Audrey Erdl.
Okay.
And she had it like about for, what, 4 or 5 years now, something
right.
like that.
Okay.
And nobody else volunteers, so she said she'll take it 1 more year, you know. And our senior vice would be Diane Schutte.
Okay.
Am I right, Kathy? Okay, she's, okay, and the junior vice would be Irene Fiddler.
Okay.
And our secretary is Dolores Wagner. She comes from Sheboygan, and she's had that position for about probably 25 out of our 50 years, like, or something.
Wow.
And our treasurer, excuse me, is Arlene Schneider.
Okay.
And then beyond that, we got just the small officers.
Very good, thank you.
And
Go right ahead.
Yes, before when I was mentioning the things the auxiliaries does, I did forget to say that our big fundraiser is a pork chop dinner.
Okay.
And then we also, one of our community service projects for the last about 4 or 5 years, we have a caring tree at the bank where we set up a tree, decorate it, and the 2 gals that we have that decorated do really an outstanding job. And they go through Manitowoc County, and usually there's like about 50 ornaments or hearts what they hang on the tree, and then when you choose one, that's who you buy for.
Oh.
It tells you what age the child is for.
Sure.
And there was something. Oh, and we also work at the blood bank in Sheboygan every month.
Wow, great.
And they also work about every 3 months at the county blood bank. That's held at the Army. It used to be held at the Army, but that's held at different places. So the ladies are kept sort of busy, and a lot of them do help at the one that's in Cleveland.
Okay.
Too. That's helped a couple times. That's about what we do for community service.
For these gentlemen or whoever wants to take it on, does the federal government or the state governments, do they help you at all with extra funding when you need it? Or is there I know you guys are doing all the work, and I got...
No, Willard Matthias.
Yes.
No, we don't receive any money at all.
No money at all?
The only thing we would receive would be a letter asking for money. As far as anything, like we give money to different organizations, like Jerry is the adjutant, he's the one that does all the writing, so you got to whatever, like whatever some of those we give money to every year.
Do you have any scholarships or anything like that? Is that what you're saying? Go right ahead, please.
Gerald Leonard. One of the many programs that VFW is active in, which many people don't know about, the VFW has a children's home at Eaton Rapids, Michigan. It's their 80th birthday. It's totally, entirely, completely, absolutely supported strictly with VFW funds.
Wow.
By the members. There's not a penny of state or social work money or whatever of that nature. And I'll tell you right out that social services people don't like it one bit because they would like some control of that organization. It's a 360 acres we own there.
Okay.
We have 60 cottages there, and these cottages are state, they're all, Wisconsin has a cottage, every state has a cottage or 2, and the children that come there live in a home-like setting.
Okay.
There may be a wife coming with her children, a mother with her children whose husband either is deceased. They're not necessarily orphans, but they're in need.
Yes.
They would be in public assistance, and we provide for them.
Wow.
And We have a big Christmas party, and now this year for the 80th anniversary, I just got a letter the other day, which you'll be hearing about at the end of the month, for a donation. They're trying to raise $80,000 to put on a big party for their 80th anniversary. And the last VFW paper, I should have brought it, the magazine had in there how many of these children, after they are done and they go to college, most of them get a scholarship. If they have a certain grade point, VFW automatically gives them a scholarship to continue on with their education. And five of them were written up now that have gone on to the military service. And unfortunately, some of them have died too.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But every one of them said that the thing that instilled them so is that when these young men would come, that they didn't know, and they had that funny looking cap on their head, and they had their wallets open for us. And they said they have never forgotten that, and that's what one of our big, proud things are, taking care of these children, and the mothers, if it has to be, that they can keep some kind of a home environment. We just received a family of 12, can you imagine? And unfortunately, we still are under certain rules. The family of 12 had to be split up because they only allowed 10 children in one house, one cottage, as we referred to them. So the two youngest ones were put next door, but they still are together, I guess, mostly for meals and everything. But
and where is this place again?
Eaton Rapids, Michigan. I think it's near Dearborn.
Okay.
The land was donated in 1920 by a lady, and then in 1924, which is 80 years ago, they got this building program. At one time, they had these kids at their own fire department. Remember that word? No. We would donate money to the fire. But due to regulations and OSHA rules and so forth, again, that had to be eliminated.
Okay.
But that's one of our proud things. And then we also donate on a regular basis to the Veterans Hospitals down at Milwaukee, known as the Blocky now, and the King Veterans Home up at Wapaka, which we used to be called the Grand Army of the Republic Home, which was started after the Civil War. And we donate to Iron Mountain Veterans Hospital, and we're expending the funds. And locally, like we say, we don't toot our horn too loud.
No.
Remember a few years ago when Mr. Christensen, our hero from Alders,
on I-43 incident,
we supported them.
Okay.
And then various other times when there were things happen in the village, we quietly, or in the community where people had really dire need, we quietly give them some assistance. And most recently, the Kaiser family have assisted them.
Correct.
But like I say, we don't make a lot of noise. That's one of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, kind of their attributes.
Okay.
You just do things.
Right.
You don't do it for yourself, you do it for others. That's sort of our motto.
Sort of unheralded heroes, I'd have to say.
I would say that'd be a pretty good answer.
I got one more question in regard to the veterans. Is that a hospital or a clinic up here on the road on Dairyland Drive?
That's what's referred to as an outreach clinic.
Outreach clinic, okay.
That, I suppose in lay terms, you would call it a walk-in clinic.
Okay.
But they're tied into Milwaukee and Appleton,
all right,
which has more. Milwaukee is the big, they have everything there. Appleton is a satellite. They have a lab clinic and various things, but if you need more, but Cleveland is more of a walk-in clinic, and they'll take care of you on your monthly or yearly or whatever. You go there, and if you need more, they hook you right up to the computer. And you
okay, great.
And then if you need more assistance, well, then you may have to go to Milwaukee. I myself, I go to Appleton because I started there, and that was before the Cleveland clinic was built. And they say this clinic is so busy that it's unbelievable.
Really?
The need is there.
Yes,
and, as Alice said, we're all getting healthier. That means we live longer, but we need more care.
More care. True. Very good, sir. Thank you. Gentlemen, go right ahead, please.
Richard Wigand, a couple of questions for the gentleman here. If you're a veteran, you're entitled to be buried in a veteran cemetery. If you desire, is that correct? Because I see veteran cemeteries as I drive around. I know there's one in Milwaukee. I know there's one north of Rice Lake, near where I live. And the other thing is you're talking about the health care. As a veteran, are you entitled to medical coverage, all medical treatment free of charge, or how does the system work if you go to a veterans hospital?
Very good. Thank you. Hi, Jerry. Back to you again, sir.
Speaking as the post-service officer, which I also have. To answer your first one, you're entitled to be buried at a veterans hospital or a veterans cemetery. The answer broadly is yes. But there are always caveats to everything. It has to be available.
That caveat, could you, that name, or that word, I never heard of that one before.
There are little hooks and crooks or little hang-ups to things.
Okay, thank you.
And availability.
Okay.
And from the latest I heard now, if you want to be buried at, say, the one, they have open one at Milwaukee, and they have one now up at Spooner, and you have to pay the transportation costs to get to that cemetery site.
Okay.
So, yes, you are entitled, but it's not, I don't know if the right word to use, a free ride to get there.
Well done.
And as far as number two, is are you entitled to medical treatment? The Department of Veterans Affairs is set up into 8 categories. And it gets really quite deep, but to answer your question again, it's a sliding scale. If you're entitled to certain things to a certain degree, but if you're in, everyone is entitled to their medical, their meds, their prescriptions.
Okay.
But they are not free. They're $7 per prescription
Okay.
for a 30-day prescription, whether it's a generic or a name brand.
All right.
So you may or may not be coming at, but you pay $7 per prescription. So if you've got 5 prescriptions, it's costing you $35 a month.
Okay.
For that month.
Yes.
And they have the 8 categories. I'll try to break it down a little bit. The top category, of course, is a 100% totally unable to work, probably paraplegic and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They get a blanket. Whatever is out there offered to them, they get.
Okay.
Then you have category 2, which is from 50% to that totally incapacitated area. They're entitled to to just about everything, but not the free meds and so forth. And then it goes down, and then as you get down into category 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, then your income starts to play a part, and your disabilities.
Okay.
And it just, so you're entitled to it, but on different stages. But you have one advantage, which some people need or may not need. Say if you're in a certain category and you're taking a lot of drugs, a lot of medication. I don't like the word drugs, medication sounds better.
Yes.
A lot of medication, you're probably cheaper or better off going to the VA because you maybe can get those total amount of drugs or medications cheaper than if you bought them through your prescription if you didn't have any insurance. So that, and also if you go, unless it changes, and that's the thing you have to be careful when you talk about this, as we're speaking, the laws may be changing. That's one thing I found out as a service officer, what you say today probably became obsolete 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Is that you are entitled to all your medications and your doctor visit. Say if you're in category 6, you go for your doctor visit and the visit is, I think, $50 it was at one time. But that covers everything. If they've got to take 7 samples of blood, do an X-ray and give you an MRI,
Okay.
it's $50.
Okay.
Not like if you go to a regular hospital and You pay to see the first doctor, and the second doctor, and the third doctor, and then everything else they do, you pay extra to it. So there is kind of a blanket coverage, but you do, as you fall into different categories, you may have to pay some out-of-pocket monies.
I got a question to relate to that. If you were wounded in the service, let's say an arm was taken off or something of that nature, and you had problems, how is that covered differently?
That'd be category 2.
You would probably be category 1 or 2 already.
Oh.
Category 1 probably, because you
Okay.
would probably be in,
Okay.
in the high category. And Purple Heart veterans, no matter what financial status they are, they're automatically in a category 2, or they may drop down to a category 3 with that,
Okay.
because the Purple Heart veteran, everything else sort of cancels
Yes.
that out.
Correct. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Who has a comment he indicates? Go right ahead, please.
I'm Willard Matthias. Why Jerry, I left him do this because he is a Purple Heart veteran.
Oh, really?
Yes. And he does go up to Appleton to get his medication or whatever he needs.
Okay.
But he is a Purple Heart. So he didn't tell you that.
He's that kind of a guy. I know that. Very modest man. Would you want to divulge how this came about, sir?
Well, Gerald Leonard, as I said earlier in the beginning, I was with the 1st Marine Division. I was with the 5th Marines. I had to mention it all. The 1st Battalion with Baker Company, as we like to refer to ourselves, as the big bad battling Baker bastards. That's what we were referred to.
Okay.
All the B's.
All the bees, okay.
And as it was over in Korea, it was on, I'll never forget the date, February 23rd,
Okay.
1953, and we were under enemy fire. And unfortunately, somebody wrote my name on some of the shrapnel they were sending out that night.
Okay.
I was wounded in the right arm
All right.
with numerous fragments, and in the left leg was numerous fragments.
Okay. And what area in Korea would that have been?
Right near Panmunjom, on
Okay.
what was referred to as Hill 229.
All right.
And I'll tell you a little story about that. I had an aunt, my wife's aunt and uncle moved to a house in Plymouth, and somebody said, well, I got a pencil and paper, so we got to write down the address. I said, you don't have to write that address down. I'll remember that the house number was 229.
Now, were you evacuated out of the area at that
I
time? or-
spent 73 days on the hospital ship,
Okay.
and then I went back to my outfit. I could have gone to the rear, but I wanted to go back with my outfit. And
So you went back in again?
So I went back to my same outfit, and I
Wow.
finished out the time, and then then the ceasefire came in effect on the 27th of July,
Okay.
and then I spent the last 3 months, or 3.5 months, guarding the DMC.
All right.
And then I came home. So,
Well, I take my hat off to you, sir. Thank you.
Richard Wigand, since you were in Korea, does the MASH TV program have any basis in reality?
Very good question.
Okay, Jerry Leonard.
Yes, sir. Go right
Jerry
ahead.
Leonard again. I chuckle when I see that some parts are, and there's one night they had a show on there that was, they could have taken it right out of our platoon.
Okay.
And that, I don't know how much people watched MASH shows, but it was the one where the guy got the Dear John letter, and he was so down and out. Well, we had an incident where a fellow got a Dear John letter, and this guy was really, really down and pretty much under the cot, not on it anymore. And so what are we going to do about it? And the lieutenant came up with an idea. He asked everybody that had a picture of a woman, a girl, anything that they could get rid of, that they didn't need, that they could dispose of, and it wouldn't be the end of the world. He didn't care what it was. So he collected pictures out of the whole company, and we had a box full. And then in that box, they put one note: honey, I don't remember which one you are. Pick yours out and return the rest. And he sent that to his girlfriend or his wife or whatever. And they had that show, that similarity to that on MASH. I just sat there and I chuckled myself.
I got a question for you. Did you have a sweetheart, or were you married at the time you were in?
No, I was very footloose and fancy
Fancy
at that
free.
time. And Fred, you don't say a word.
Good, please.
I'm Marie Pippert. First of all, I want to thank the auxiliary. I'm one little bit over 90.
Yeah?
And I got a nice fruit basket, and I have some questions. I remember now my oldest one went in right after graduation, which was 1960, and the other two, the Marine and the Army, was 1963. And talking about the poultry thing, in my days, they called it a duck raffle. Remember that? But I think Wimler's Tavern had it first, so you were second. And another thing, we want to know who's that nice-looking guy on that one picture.
Okay. Question about a picture, and now she
Yeah.
found out.
Well, we were just, listen, we were just wondering who this good-looking guy was at the end. I knew
Yeah.
all the other ones.
Would you want to point to him one more time?
Oh, sure. Wow, we. This one.
Okay.
One way over here.
That gentleman there, huh? Isn't he a Sharpie?
Yeah,
I can see why you're turned on.
I know.
I have a question, not really a question, it's saying somebody worked for somebody.
Okay, I'm Willard Matthias. When Jerry was a young boy, he was working with us at our Matthias Dairy. In fact, he was almost part of the family when he was there. And so we would do different things every day. Jerry was more or less working with my brother Bart in the bottling area.
Okay.
And then I had to show Jerry once how to make a malted milk.
Ah.
Take a half a pint of whipping cream and then a half a pint of chocolate milk and mix them together. And I tell you, that's a very good drink.
And what years was that when he worked for you?
What year was it?
Middle of 1950 until the spring of 1952.
Okay, okay.
But, I remember the day when Jerry came and he says he's going to be leaving us. And it wasn't so bad. He's leaving us. Ed Wagner, he's leaving us.
Oh, boy.
And Harold Lungman. All three joined the Marines at one time. I'm losing 3 hired men, and I got 2 weeks to replace them.
Oh, boy.
And I'll tell you, it was a chore to replace somebody like them. And anyway, Jerry, he was like Bart's right-hand man, and Wagner, he was on a milk route, and Lungman, he was a cleanup man.
Uh-huh.
But for Bart, he had to get somebody else to step in there and
Okay.
take over. But they were good working men.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I got a question that leads from yours. When you volunteered, what camp did you go to get the training you needed? Go right ahead, please.
When we left, we went to Milwaukee, got sworn in or whatever, and then we went to San Diego
Okay.
and had my boot camp there. And at that time, of course, the war was going, so it was the big 3 boot camp, tent camp in Korea. I left San Diego and went up to Camp Pendleton for about 10 weeks of advanced training, and
Okay.
then off to Korea.
All
And
right.
when I was done, I still had 15 months to do because I had enlisted in the Marine Corps for 3 years.
Were you
and I was
enlisted?
in there-
Okay.
Went in there went to
Yeah.
Korea real quickly, so I
Yes.
was back. And then I spent my last 15 months at Rhode Island, Quonset Point Naval Air Station as a guard duty, which was the best duty in the world. If I could have been guaranteed that, I'd still be in the Marine Corps today. But just a little history there too. I was there in 1954, right around Memorial Day. I think it was around the 27th. I don't know any of your people even remember or paid note around here. That's when the USS Bennington blew up coming into harbor.
Oh.
I don't know what happened. You never really find out, but there was a massive explosion
Yes.
right next to the chief petty officer's mess area, and they were having breakfast. And,
Oh, boy.
well, there were 101 were killed on the ship, and then they brought the ship in, and needless to say, none of the guard people, which I was attached to, we had any liberty that weekend.
Yes, I would say.
That was just regular chaos.
Yeah.
People coming from all over and trying to identify. And,
Yep.
But that was quite a historical time.
Mm.
But I don't know if people ever have seen mass destruction. Aircraft hangar deck is quite thick.
Yeah,
so the planes can land on that.
yeah,
And that deck was rolled as you would take a cover of a sardine can.
Yeah, roll it right
That's
up.
how that deck was just peeled back, like somebody rolled it back.
wow,
And it always surprised me that only 100, I shouldn't use the word 100, but
Yeah.
that 100 was the only number that
Right.
died. You would have thought you would have wiped out the entire ship.
Hmm.
But that was in May of 1954.
Okay, very good, thank you. Here, who has a question?
Charlie Bauer, Jerry, you're from the Korean War, and then Willard is from World War II. Can you tell us what kind of chow you had when you were in the field there on the war patrol? We had an opportunity, me and Jerry, to talk to the submarine veterans when they had the reunion, and they said they were the best fed troops there were, was the submarine vets. And I was wondering what, between Korea and World War II now, I was in Vietnam and we had C rations, and I did a little checking. They had C rations 1, 2, and 3. We had C rations 3, and then they went to C rations 4, and then sometime in the late 80s they went to MREs, what the field troops are eating now. And I brought 2 packages along here, and we can just go ahead and pass these around, open them up if you want. But I'm interested to know what kind of chow you guys had, so if you want to go ahead and take it on and let me know.
Question has come about here, and this gentleman from World War II is going to indicate the answers. Go right ahead, please.
When we first landed in Okinawa, you had a box, and it contained...
What size box was that, if you could show me?
It was that way, about that long.
Okay,
It held a pack of crackers, a round metal container with either cheese in it or some meat.
Spam.
It was like Spam or something.
okay.
Something.
Very good.
Anyway, and then you had 4 cigarettes.
Okay,
That was, and your one like a plastic spoon to get out of there.
did you get a piece of gum too?
No gum.
No gum.
Just 4 cigarettes. And I was always the fortunate one when I got my ration for the day, that each one had cheese in it, the little container,
Yes,
processed cheese. And if I wanted a meat one in the between, I have to trade my 4 cigarettes off for somebody to get a meat one. And I get so sick of eating that Spam or that in there and that cheese. And then finally we got hot coffee in the
Okay.
morning, and once we had a tent up. And then we started getting some meals.
Okay,
I
now-
went into the service at 200 pounds, I come home 162 pounds. But that was good, that was the best thing
that was a
could
good
happen
thing.
to me.
Now, what you're speaking of, the food that you received there, was that when you were landing on the
That's
beach?
when we first landed on Okinawa.
Okay, and you landed with some kind of,
I was with the 504th Field Aircraft Artillery.
okay,
That's a 90-millimeter guns. See, they were there when I got there,
okay,
because I ended up in Hawaii with pneumonia.
all right,
So I got there a little later, so
Okay.
I joined the outfit then,
yeah,
and that was our rations.
Okay.
And then later on, they had the kitchen going and had a little stove and stuff. Then we were getting our meals.
okay,
And then we were so fortunate that we were just getting meals, and now we're doing good, see?
yeah.
We had a typhoon come. Wiped everything out. There wasn't anything, no tents, no nothing. That was just like, just everything gone.
Oh,
It was over 100-mile-an-hour winds that night.
gee,
So that night when we were there, and it was raining so, then one of the Vietnam and Okinawa people, they were living in these little huts down below us,
yeah,
and they came up and said we should come down. They would make room for us.
really?
So we were in the barber shop that they had. It was a nice sized room like this, and it had all grass top on it and
Yeah.
sides, everything. And we got in there, and the guy built a little fire in there for us, and we were all soaking wet.
Oh,
So we were down there until the next morning.
Yeah.
The next day we come up and you look, there's nothing there. So we're back on K rations until they could get things in. And I have the picture of a tent that they built for a bunch of us that was all pieces. They just built up a bunch of wood and threw those tarps over it to get out of rain and whatever, but if
Yeah.
it did rain, you still got wet inside, but
Yeah.
it was something to get away from the
Oh.
outside a little bit.
Man.
But then we were in there for quite a while until they got some tents again for
Yeah.
us to move into.
My
But,
gosh.
and you talk about, I would say, they ate pretty good, those fellows. And you got different kinds of ration.
Very good, thank you.
Somebody must have said quiet.
Boy. You know, this would be a good opportunity, and I'm going to do that when I get done with this pan. I'm going to pan back one more time with a little bit larger picture. Okay, I'm going to start with Richard, and if you people can just work your way through. You can identify yourself, please. Right ahead, Richard.
Richard Wigand.
Thank you. Nice and loud like that. In the front row there, the first person. Yes, you.
I'm Leah Comer.
Thank you. And right behind you.
Catherine Dienig.
Thank you. And right behind there also.
Melvin Yates.
Thank you, Melvin. And in front there.
Kathy Sixel.
Thank you, Kathy. Behind.
Charlie Bauer.
Thank you. And next person.
Kathy,
Go right ahead, please.
Kathy Wagner.
Thank you, Kathy. And right behind her.
Alice Matthias,
Thank you, Alice. And right next to her.
Irene Dine,
And in front.
Marie Pipper.
Thank you. And in front.
Theo Pfeiffer.
Thank you. And behind.
Frederick Jacoby.
Thank you, Fred. And in front.
Edith Lindsay.
Thank you, Edith. And in back there, please.
Willard Matthias,
Thank you, Willard. Next to Willard.
Gerald Leonard,
Thank you. And then next to Jerry.
Chris.
Thank you, Florence. And back behind Florence.
Walter Chris,
Thank you, Walter.
And Dorothy Anderson.
Thank you, Dorothy. And we have this entire group here this afternoon. And I do want to convey my thank yous to everybody for coming and to the gentlemen that and the ladies that provided so much information that we never had before. And I think it would be worthwhile to get another meeting together because I don't think we've really tapped this whole thing either, as far as pictures and so forth. We got them on. We sort of did a good job, I believe, on the veterans establishment here, and this young lady can sort of wind us down a little bit.
Well, I want to thank everybody for coming, and I want to thank Jerry and Willard and Alice for the fine presentation. So, and we will meet here next month again. I will send a card. It's the second Sunday in February we'll try for.
Okay. Very
Okay, and it's all right with Willard and Jerry to meet here, and we'll continue.
Very good. Thank
And
you.
thank you, everybody, for
Very
coming.
good. And we'll wind up here and go right ahead and identify yourself.
Okay, my name is Richard Wigand, and just in case I don't make it to the next meeting, and I hope I do, when I was in Ethiopia doing my research after the Gulf War, these things showed up on the black market in Addis, and I bought a couple of them and actually ate them. But I had to pay for them. You know, they went into some food aid stream and they ended up on the black market in Ethiopia. So.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
So.
Good, good. And we have a gentleman here that helped so much. Go right ahead, please.
Gerald Leonard, member of the VFW at Cleveland since 1955.
Very good. Thank you so much for all your help, sir.
I'm Willard Matthias.
Willard, thank you also for a great job. Thank you.
I'm Alice Matthias.
Alice, you did a wonderful job today. Thank you.
I'm Irene Dine and I have a question. How did they keep this food from spoiling?
Okay.
Chemicals.
Chemicals? Okay. We'll talk about that one next time, too. And we have a gentleman here.
Walter Chris.
Thank you, Walter, for coming today. We appreciate it.
Florence Chris.
Florence, thank you for coming. We appreciate it, too. Thank you.
Kathy Wagner.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for coming.
Edith Lindsay?
Edith, I'm sorry I called you Edith Rush. Sorry.
Charlie Bauer.
Charlie, thank you.
Dorothy Anderson.
Dorothy, thank you for coming.
Very welcome.
Marie Pipper?
Marie, thank you again for coming along.
Alita Comer?
Thank you. Thank you for coming. And we're back to...
And I want to thank the newcomers who came today. Catherine Yennig was new today, and so was Belita.
Okay.
Thank you. We hope we see you next month.
Very good. Thank you.
I'm just going to throw all I thought it would be interesting